Hello, viewer. Welcome to the stream. In today's video, I am going to be doing something very different. Today, I'm going to be doing something called, I don't know what it is that I'm trying to say here. I'm going to be doing a murder mystery. And right now, I have to disable comments for the live stream, technically because I don't want to be criticized or ridiculed just because I'm doing a book instead of playing the game. I need some time away from that for a bit. And I actually did this last night just to figure out what it is that I need to do. And I got everything I need. I got a pencil and I got a pen just in case if I want to use this permanently. But I'm going to use a pencil just in case if I made a mistake. So we're going to be starting off with our first case. We're going to start with elementary. Then we're going to start with a cure medium, hard boil, and impossible. Which I don't know if I could be able to do. But we're going to do it anyways. During the course of the following 25 mysteries, Deductive Logical's life was forever changed. He went from being a fresh-faced student straight out of deduction college to the grizzled deductive he is today. Basically means detective in this version. He learned things he had never suspected. He saw things he would never forget. Thankfully, he always carried with him his deductive wits and his detective kit, Exhibit A, seen to the left. So no matter how confusing his cases became, he could always figure them out. Can you? Probably not. But we're going to find out anyways. Student, study the suspect's weapons and locations. Read the clues carefully. Make your deductions. And finally, determine who done it with, what and where. Some of you may find these first 25 mysteries too elementary, particularly those of you with degrees from a certified deduction college. If that's the case, then take the Detective Club's elementary, my dear challenge. See how fast you can solve all 25 elementary murder mysteries without getting a single one wrong. Our current record set by a member of the club prior to this book's publication is 36 minutes. Can you beat it? No, because I'm reading it. All right. So our first mystery is Murder in Hollywood. And I don't know if you can see it, but I'm going to read it. When Deductive Logical was invited to a fancy dinner party at a mansion in the Hollywood Hills, he thought he had finally made it. Unfortunately, he was not the guest of honor. He was there to solve the murder of the guest of honor. I'm going to use this so that, you know, so that the pages won't be flying off. So here's are the suspects. The suspects are Amazing Aurelian, Midnight 3, and Dane Obsidian. Amazing Aurelian, a magician who perfected the sawing your husband into routine, then she made his body disappeared. And we also have to check out of their bios. Like, this person is 5'6" tall, and the person is left-handed, has green eyes and blonde hair. For Midnight Third, he is 5'8", also left-handed, but has dark brown eyes and dark brown hair. Lastly, Dane Obsidian is 5'4", left-handed, green eyes, black hair. So, the locations are the enormous bathroom, the bedroom, and of course, the screen room, which is almost like a movie theater, but, you know. And then finally, we have the weapons. So, you can barely see it, but the weapons are a fork, an aluminum pipe, and a heavy candle. So, just if you ever played the online version of Murdle, you have to know that each suspect has one weapon in one of the locations, but only one of them is the murderer today. So we're going to start off of what we already knew for sure. And I'm definitely going to use the pencil to write this of who actually did it, with where and with what. So what we do know is that the body was found inside a marble tub. So we got to pay attention to the clues. A bathroom that has bigger than deducted logical's house. It didn't say a marble tub. However, I do believe that I do believe that the bathroom is like the only room that has a tub. Because what other rooms that has a tub? So, let's check out the clues. Amazing Aurelian trusted the suspect who brought a fork. So basically, for what I can gather, is that Amazing Aurelian is with someone who is the suspect who brought the fork. So it cannot be Amazing Aurelian. So Midnight, I'm going to call him Midnight the Third. Midnight the Third was still I don't know how you pronounce this word. Brandishing an aluminum pipe when Logical arrived. So he might have had it. However, the heavy candle was not in the bedroom. So, I'm going to use this pin to cross off the heavy candle not being in the bedroom. And this is like a multicolor pin in one. And I got this at the dollar store. Okay, so Dane Obsidian was found hiding beneath the red velvet seats. So that means that she's on the screening room. And it says red velvet. So that means she is hiding. So we're going to check mark this with green. With a green pin color. And we gotta remember it's Dane Obsidian. And we know for certain that she's not in the bedroom. She's not in the bedroom. And she certainly was not in the bathroom. Plus, the other suspects was not in the screening room, such as Midnight the Third, and of course, Amazing Aurelian. Okay, so if the body was found inside of the marble tub, that means that it is in the bathroom, the enormous bathroom to be exact. So I'm just going to write bathroom just because I write too big. That's my biggest difficulty. So I'm just going to write simply bathroom, basically because I can't write enormous bathroom. Just because what is the difference? It's just a bathroom. Probably because it's a mansion and it's much bigger, but I prefer writing something that is very simple to write. There we go. So we do know that the bathroom is where the murder took place. But right now we gotta figure out what weapon and who did it. So let's see. Here. Let me think. Let's see. So Amazing Aurelian. So according to this, Amazing Aurelian trusted the suspect that brought the fork. So it cannot be... So I'm just going to use a pencil just to say that Amazing Aurelian did not have the fork. Then Midnight was still brandishing an aluminum pipe when Logical arrived. So he had the aluminum pipe. So it was... I'm going to still use a pencil on this one because I might be wrong. He doesn't have the other weapons such as this one and this one. This only means that Dane Obsidian has the fork. Dane Obsidian has the fork. This could only mean one thing, ladies and gentlemen. It means that Dane Obsidian... Hold on. So now that I know that Dane Obsidian has the fork, even though it is unclear whether she has other weapons as well. But it's like the only spot, because first of all, let's just clarify this. Amazing Aurelian trusted the suspect who brought the fork, meaning that she doesn't have it in her hand. While Midnight the Third had the aluminum pipe in hand, because he still had it once Logical arrives. So that means that the only person that has the fork is none other than Dame Obsidian. So we're going to assume that, but I'm still using the pencil just because I don't want to use a pen just yet. We're going to cross out the other weapons. Oh, we also got to cross out this girl as well. So that means only one thing. Amazing Aurelian has the heavy candle. And that's technically it. But what we do know for sure... Can't even talk. What we do know for sure is that not Amazing Aurelian. What we do know is that Dane Obsidian has the fork in hand. And, let's see. And, she was hiding in the velvet seats, which is the screening room. So, I do know for sure that the fork is in the screening room. So, that means we're going to cross this out here. I'm still using the pencil, just because I don't want to get carried away of using the pen. I'm only using the pen of something that I do know. Okay. And also we can cross out the other weapons that were not in the screening room, which means that the person who has the heavy candle is in the bathroom. So we're going to cross that out. And then we're going to check mark this one. So what we know is that Dane Obsidian was in the screening room with the fork. Then in the bedroom was Midnight the Third with the aluminum pipe, which only leaves only one suspect that was in the bathroom, and that is Amazing Aurelian. And she has the heavy candle. So we're going to check mark this in pencil, because just remember, if I get this right, then you know what that means. And I believe this is elementary, so I believe I got this right, without any shadow of a doubt. But I cannot be too confident or cocky. So, this only confirms that I am going to say, I'm going to write their, I'm going to say that it was Aurelian. It was Amazing Aurelian. And I'm using the pencil just in case if I messed up, then you know I'm not a very good detective. But this is elementary, so I have to get this right at some point. So it was Aurelian who did it with the candle. I know it's a heavy candle, but I can't write it. I can't write that small because I can only write big, you know. Not too big, but just big enough so that people would understand it or see the letters clearly. Okay, so that is case number 1. So let's move on to case number 2. And there are no answers once you... I think there are answers at the end of the book, but we'll worry about that. Next, the second case is, and then there was another one. The Dr. Logical thrilled when he heard an old man had been killed on a secluded island. Yeah, secluded island. Of course, that was bad. But Logical had always wanted to solve one of those secluded island murders. And this was his big chance. So here are the suspects, which is Senor Emerald, Father Mango, and Miss Saffron. So in these suspects, Senor Emerald, an Italian jeweler of great renown, Senor Emerald has traveled the world in search of rare, precious stones, which are always falling out of his pockets. He is 5'8", left-handed, light brown eyes and black hair. For Father Mango, he has taken a vow of poverty, but he drives a BMW. He's taking a vow of obedience, but he has a staff of 25. He's taken a vow of chastity. I don't know if that's how you pronounce it. Chastity too, which is why he's on vacation. He's 5'10", left-handed, dark brown eyes, and bald, meaning he has no hair. Which I don't like to use that term, but you know. Lastly, we have Mr. Saffron. Gorgeous and charming, but maybe not all there in the brains department. Or maybe that's what she wants you to think. Or maybe she wants you to think that's what she wants you to think. She's 5'2", left-handed as well, but has hazel eyes and blonde hair. For the weapons, we have... No, not the weapons. The location is the cliffs, the ancient ruins, and the docks. Remember, this is a secluded island. And lastly, the weapons, which you can barely see. The weapons are a harpoon, a ordinary brick, and a bear trap. So I'm not going to mention this before because you already know the memo. One weapon, one location, and one suspect. So what do we know for sure? By the time Logico got there, the old man's body has been nibbled on by sharks. All right, so let's check out the location to see. Apparently, it's the docks. So that means we know where. So I'm going to write down. So I'm going to write down the... I'm going to write down the docks, because that's all we know for sure. Okay, so we know that the docks is where it all took place. And now we just got to figure out the rest of the clues. The suspect who brought the ordinary brick was a parishioner... I don't know how to pronounce this word. The person who brought the ordinary brick was like connected to... was a parishioner of Father Mangle's, which means that Father Mangle did not have the ordinary brick, but I cannot mark that. But Miss Saffron had a bear trap in her purse. I don't know how. And I kind of mixed up the colors wrong. So Miss Saffron has the bear trap in her purse, which I don't know exactly how is that possible. Miss Saffron has the purse. No, Miss Saffron has the bear trap, which means that she doesn't have the other weapons like the brick. And the other suspects didn't have the bear trap. There we go. So next up, the suspect whose family's company produced Logical's magnifying glass was on the cliffs. See Exhibit A. Something to do with family company produce. I really don't know this one. The suspect that probably has a family, but still, I don't know. Let's see. The ancient ruins seemed to hypnotize the hazel eyes of the suspect standing behind them. So, in the ancient ruins, there is someone is hypnotized, someone with hazel eyes of the suspect standing behind them. It's got to be Miss Saffron. Miss Saffron has the... I'm going to use a pencil because I really don't know. So Miss Saffron was in the ancient ruins because she was hypnotized. So we know that she's not in this either of these locations. And we know that these suspects wasn't there. Which means that the bear trap that she used was at the ancient ruins. I'm definitely using a pencil for that obvious reason. But right now we still gotta figure out something to do. Let's see here. We have to pay very close attention to these evidence right here. The suspects whose families company produce Logical's magnifying glass was on the cliffs. Where? What is Exhibit A? I do not know. It didn't say, because in the bios of the suspect, it didn't mention anything about family. And even if it did, I would have seen it. Now, this one is a little bit of a toughie right now, which is why I'm using a pencil for that reason. So, I can only assume that in the first clue, the suspect who brought an ordinary brick was someone of Father Mang. That was like Father Mango's, whatever that word is that I cannot pronounce. So, I'm going to assume that Father Mango did not have the ordinary brick, but he has the harpoon. He has the harpoon, and the person who has the ordinary brick was Senor Emerald. Okay, we solved that mystery, but we need to figure out who is in the docks and what weapon did they use. Because obviously, the suspect whose family company produced Logical's magnifying glass was on the cliffs. Someone in the family that produced magnifying glass. Well, obviously, it's definitely not Miss Saffron because, according to the bio, she doesn't have the brains department. But, and for Father Mango, I don't think he produced glass because he's, So I think in my head, the only person that could do that was possibly Senor Emerald. I'm not confident about that. That's why I'm using pencil for a reason. No. See, I messed it up. I was trying to do, what I was supposed to do is put a check mark in here and then cross this here. That means that the person who is in the docks is actually Father Mango. And the ordinary brick was at the cliffs. No, I'm supposed to use a check mark instead of a cross. Or like an X mark. That means that Father Mango was in the docks with the harpoon. Because in the ancient ruins, Saffron has the bear trap. So, according to what I can gather, it's definitely Mango. And we're going to write and it's going to be a harpoon. All right, so we're moving on to case 3. And I'm solving these a little quicker. Not because I don't have a timer, but it's like, This one is called The Art of the Kill. So, let's see. I can't even talk. Deductive Logical visited an art museum, which was very confusing to him. No murder was as baffling as some of these paintings. So, he was quite relieved when an experimental artist was killed in mysterious circumstances. Finally, something he could understand. I don't know what's going on with that. So, the 3 suspects are Captain Slate, Bishop Azure, and Blackstone ESQ. I don't know what it stands for. But Captain Slate is a real-life astronaut, the first woman to travel around the dark side of the moon, and also the first to be suspected of murdering her co-pilot. She's 5'5" tall, left-handed, dark brown eyes and dark brown hair. Bishop Assur, a bishop in a local church, she has been known to pray for both her friends and her enemies. Of course, she asks for different things. She's 5'4", right-handed, light brown eyes, and dark brown hair. Then we have Blackstone, who is incredibly talented at the most important skill for an attorney, getting paid. So he's 6'0", right-handed, black eyes, and black hair. I guess that's why they call him Blackstone. No pun intended. The locations are the rooftop garden. We have the internal hall and the art studio. Finally, we have the weapons, which is a glass of poisoned wine, a abstract statue, and a rare vase. So let's gather the evidence of what we do know. The body of the experimental artist was found under a plaque on the wall. So it's somewhere of a location. So, okay, so the plaque is at the entry hall, excuse me. So how can I write this down? I can't write it small. But I'm going to say, I'm going to write down, I'm going to write entry. And I think I have enough room to write down hall. Okay, so now we know exactly where did it took place. So we got to figure out who and what. Blackstone was suspicious of the person who brought an abstract statue. So that means that he didn't have the statue. Hopefully I'm right, but I'm definitely using a pencil for a reason. Captain Slate brought I can't even talk. Captain Slate brought a glass of poison wine. So that means that she has the poison wine. Captain Slate, and oh yeah. So Captain Slate has this. And then we're going to cross out the weapons that she didn't have. And look at this. This also means that Bishop Azure has the statue, but doesn't have this, which only leads Blackstone having the vase. I'm putting on pencil just because. So an abstract statue was not in the art studio. Sometimes the students' art seemed abstract, but that I can't even talk. But that was just because it was bad. So apparently the abstract statue was not in the art studio. So I'm going to cross that out, but here's the thing. I'm using it on pencil just in case if I'm wrong. And now this is the challenging part. Either Blackstone was standing on top of flyers of art classes, or Captain Slade was in the rooftop garden. But it cannot be both. This is probably the hardest part. The hardest part is to figure out the location. So far, I'm coming up with nothing. I come up with nothing. So Blackstone was suspicious with Bishop Azure with the statue. Captain Slade has the poison wine. But we still don't know exactly the location of things. But what we do know, one thing, is that... Excuse me. What we do know is that... We do know is that... What we do know is that in the art studio, there was no statue. The question is where? Where do you put where do you place an abstract statue? For my guess, it could be either the rooftop or possibly the entry hall. Because it has something to do with art, right? This is kind of bad because we don't have any clues that tells us the location. Well, we do have only one evidence, and that is that the entry hall is where it all took place, but we don't know who and what. We don't know who was there and what weapon did they use. So we need to figure out who was there. We need to figure out either Captain Slade was at the rooftop where the garden is at, or if it was Blackstone on top of flyers for art classes. The problem is that cannot be both. This is probably the hardest one because I have no clue. So this one got me stumped. Officially. I might have to think about this one because something does not click for me. So let's just skip towards the fourth case, which is excuse me, which is called The Last Train to Murder. Once he got back to the mainland, Deducted Logical took a train. Unfortunately, somebody else took the life of the conduction. Or the conductor, excuse me. My bad. Now the train was racing down the tracks, and nobody knew what to do except logical knew he had to crack the case. So here is the suspects. We have Vice President Mauve, Chef Aubergine, and Philosopher Bone. So for Vice President Mauve, Vice President of TechCo Future, if she asks you to step into her metaverse, politely declined. She's 5'8", right-handed, dark brown eyes, and black hair. It is said that she once killed her husband, cooked him, and then served him at her restaurant. It's not true. But just the fact that it's said about her tells you something. She's 5'2", right-handed, blue eyes, blonde hair. Then a dashing dark philosopher who pioneered the ethical theory that he is not responsible for his actions, but he should be paid for them. He's 5'1", right-handed, light brown eyes, and bald. So the locations are the locomotive, the caboose, and the roof. And then we have the weapons. Excuse me. The weapons are a imported Italian knife. Then we have a leather luggage and a rolled up newspaper with a crowbar inside. That's just wow. Alright, so what we do know is that the conductor had been stabbed to death. So let's see, what weapon could do that? The answer is quite obvious. The answer is quite obvious, ladies and gentlemen. It's the knife. I'm not trying to finish it quickly, but I am trying to, figure things out as it follows. I felt bad for the third case because I'm confused, but I always get stumped with the ones like either or situation. So let's go ahead and move on to the fourth case just to figure things out. Excuse me. All right. So a page from a classified was found near the heat of a steam. Wonder what that could be. Well, anyways, Chef Aubergine and the person who brought the leather luggage had a history. So it is obviously clear that Chef Aubergine did not have the luggage, because she was with the person who brought the luggage, the leather one. The tallest suspect never sets foot on the caboose. So we gotta look at the profiles of the suspects. The person who is the tallest is definitely Vice President Mauve, excuse me. So Vice President Mauve never steps foot on the caboose, so I'm going to use a red pen to cross that out, basically because I now know that she is the tallest out of the two. Okay, so we also have Philosopher Bone was seen wandering around outdoors. And if we pay attention to the bios of the locations, you will see that they have something that calls indoors and outdoors. So these two are taking place indoors. This is the only one that is outdoors related. So that means that Philosopher Bone was at the rooftop. No, was at the roof, excuse me. So we're check marking that. And at least I checked to make sure if I got the right person. So he wasn't in he wasn't in these locations, and neither does the other two suspects. They were neither in the roof. But it looks like the only person that was in the caboose, was none other than Chef Aubergine. That also means that Vice President Mauve was at the locomotive. Now we get to cross this out. There we go. There we go. Now, this is where it gets a little bit toughy. Because, let's see. I know that the tallest suspect was President Mauve. She was at the caboose. No. Oh, wait, never mind. Never mind. I just realized something. The first location is the locomotive. So, Vice President Mauve was at the locomotive. And she never steps foot into the caboose. That's what I know. The only person that was at not the locomotive, the caboose, is Chef Aubergine, because Philosopher Bone was at the roof. That I know for sure. But now we gotta figure out the weapon of where the weapon is and who has it. That's going to be the tough part. So, a page from a classified was found near the heat of steam. So we gotta pay attention to that. You gotta pay attention to something. I think it has something to do with when it says smoke. I can only assume that it's like has a bit of steam, or it could be it's supposed to be a steam engine. So the locomotive has an engine and the other two doesn't. So I can only assume that the weapon was at an engine of the locomotive. But the question is, what page from the classifieds? Now, I could say it could be the luggage because it may have some classified notes. But at the same time, I can only think of a newspaper. Because the newspaper was probably going to be in the steam engine. But I'm definitely going to use a pencil just in case if I'm wrong. Cross these out. So, whoever's in the locomotive, where there's an engine involved, has the newspaper. So, it was Vice President Mauve all along. We're going to cross this and cross that. And then we're definitely going to cross these as well. Because the only person that has the leather luggage is none other than Philosopher Bone, excuse me. Which means that he's not here. That means that the person who has the knife is the chef. Which is obvious because she's a chef. Of course she's going to use a knife. So at least we saw a little bit of that. But if I'm wrong, then I'm wrong. So I'm going to write the name. I'm going to write the name instead of like who they actually were. But I do know that she's a chef. And then the location that the chef was at is at the caboose. Okay, so let me take a sip of my coffee, which is probably cold by now, but if anything, it's going to make me feel, a little bit knowledgeable. When Deductive Logical came into a private hospital, he knew his injuries wouldn't hurt half as much as the bill. But his surgery, Dr. Crimson offered a trade. If he solved another patient's murder, they'd give him a 2% discount. He immediately agreed. And of course, hold on. Dr. Crimson is one of the suspects, along with Sister Lapis and Officer Copper. So, Sister Lapis is a nun who travels the world doing God's work on his dime. Her habit is cashmere, and her habits is spending. Now, that's just messed up, in my opinion. So, she's 5'2", right-handed, light brown eyes, and light brown hair. Then we have Then we have Copper. No. I'm getting a little bit confused right now. Officer Copper, the best part of being a policewoman, criminal is that you can cut out the middleman and fall to investigate your own crimes. She's 5'5", right-handed, blue eyes, blonde hair. And lastly, we have Dr. Crimson, who is also a female. She's the smartest doctor she's ever met, according to her. And she's probably right. Yeah, she smokes, but if she gets cancer, she'll find a cure. And right now, my dog is looking at me, but it's not time to walk yet. So she's 5'9", left-handed, green eyes, and red hair. Okay, just give me a moment, Just give me a moment, ladies and gentlemen. I have to deal with this. Okay, sorry about that. I have to make sure that my dog gets some water. The parking lot, excuse me. The locations are the parking lot, the roof, once again, and the gift shop. Lastly, we have the weapons. So, let's see. Let's see here. So we have the vial of acid, a heavy microscope, and a surgical scalpel. All right, so sorry about that, ladies and gentlemen. I gotta make sure that my lovely dog doesn't cause any trouble. I have to get her groomed soon, but the problem is that she gets anxious. So I'm probably going to need some chewable things to calm her down. And the only store that probably has it, it's probably going to be Walmart because, it has some smoky beef jerky flavor that she probably would eat. But the problem is that I don't know exactly when are we going to get her groomed because it's getting a little bit rough. Not around the back area because I could still brush her and just. The problem is the facial area. And right now my dog is just getting up and it's just like I'm trying to do something here and she's just distracting me. So just give me one moment. Alright, sorry about that. I'm about to end this stream soon if she gets up again. So let's figure out what we do know. The patient's body was found beneath a luxury sedan. And if we pay attention to the location bio, it is in the parking lot. So, I gotta figure out how to write this. I'm gonna try not to write it too big. It's definitely hard. But I think I'm having so much fun just to solve mysteries like this. The reason why I want to live stream by doing this is because I need some time off of gaming just a little bit. All right, so I have room to write down parking lot as long as I try to maintain the letters in a certain shape. So let's check out the clues. According to the clues, a vial of acid was certainly not on the rooftop. They have acid detecting sensors there. So that could only mean that it's not there because there's a sensor detection. So the bottle of acid is not in the rooftop, which is this one right here. So one of these locations, only one location may be able to detect any vials of acid, while one doesn't. Who knows? Okay, so the suspect who was in the gift shop has light brown eyes. So let's go to the character profile. And remember, light brown eyes. It's definitely Sister Lapis because Crimson has green eyes while Copper has blue eyes. So we can definitely confirm that Sister Lapis was at the gift shop. which is quite obvious because she's trying to get something for herself for some reason. So we're going to check mark this right now. And then we're going to cross out the locations that she wasn't in. And as for the other suspects, they weren't at the gift shop. Okay. So next up, Officer Copper had a weapon with a label on it reading "Do not drink." Uh-oh. He has the bottle of acid. But first, surprisingly, Dr. Crimson did not bring her surgical scalpel. And that's or the scalpel or any surgical scalpel for that matter. So I'm going to write it down in pencil because it seems confusing. So she did not bring the surgical scalpel, but it could either be Sister Lapis or Officer Copper. But what we do know is that Officer Copper has the what people think is a weapon that labels "do not drink." Obviously, he does not know that it's acid. So we're going to cross these out along with the other weapons that he does not have. So that only means that Sister Lapis has the scalpel, while Dr. Crimson has the microscope, which is quite obvious. So in the gift shop, Sister Lapis was there with the scalpel. And then we're going to cross these out too. And it looks like we may have solved the mystery because Officer Copper has the acid, but the shocking twist is that it was in the parking lot, because remember, the acid wasn't on the rooftop, but the microscope was. That only means only one thing. Officer Copper is the murderer. And I'm definitely doing this in pencil. And I forgot to put a cross on that too. So we know who did it. It was definitely Copper. It was definitely Copper. Because if I pay attention of why cross out or check mark, then I would definitely know exactly who did it, what, and where. And I'm just gonna put acid just because I can't write the whole thing as much as I wanted to. Okay, that concludes this mystery. I felt bad for the third one, but that's because it's a little bit tricky. Okay, the next mystery we're going to solve before who knows what's going to happen is Murder in the Alley. While Deductive Logical was walking home, he was stopped in a dark alley by a dark figure who said that Dane Obsidian was guilty. She'd framed a semi-innocent magician. Which I have a feeling it's Amazing Aurelian. See Case 1 in Hollywood, Murder in Hollywood. Before the dark figure could say more, he was murdered. Now, if we pay attention to the first one, we know that Amazing Aurelian and Dane Obsidian was in the first case, and Aurelian was the one who did it. Because if we remember correctly, Dane Obsidian was hiding in a velvet seat. And she only has the fork. Because remember, Aurelian trusted the suspect who brought the fork, which is Dame Obsidian. So that's kind of interesting to revisit, you know? Revisit the first case. But we have new suspects. We have General Coffee, which obviously I'm drinking my coffee now. But I need to hurry up and finish it. An espresso connoisseur, I don't know how you pronounce it, who once sent his men to die in the jungle to harvest a single bean. I have no idea. So, he's 6'0", right-handed, dark brown eyes, and bald. Next, we have Cosmonant. I don't know how to pronounce it. He's a Blusky. His name is Blusky. An ex-Soviet. I can't even pronounce this name. Spaceman who... He's a spaceman whose blood flows red. Sure, that's normal. But for him, it's patriotic. He's 6'2", left-handed, dark brown eyes, and black hair. And then, returning to the suspect list, Midnight the 3rd. He argues the studio should focus on murder mysteries again to regain their former glory. And of course, my dog is getting up again. The locations are a metal fence, the dumpster, and the distracting graffiti. I have no idea. And then we have the weapons. The weapons are a piano wire, a crowbar, and the poison dart. So what do we do know? Or what Logical already knows? There was an awful smell around the body, even for a body. Something to do with the awful smell. Well, it's definitely not the murder weapon that causes it. However, the awful smell came from the dumpster. So obviously we know that that's where it took place, which is, you know. Let's write this down. Dump. Dumpster. And I don't know why my dog just get up. She got up too early when I was trying to get myself situated. And it's really making me frustrated right now. But I'll be right back. All right, ladies and gentlemen. So let's get to the clues before anything else happened. Midnight the 3rd had the familiar chain link pattern pressed into his face. I have no idea. Okay, so next up we have Blusky, always packed for outer space. He had a lightweight weapon, So there's only two of the lightweight weapons, which is the piano wire and the poison dart. But what I do know for certain is that he did not have the crowbar because it is medium weight. It is medium weight. And now this is where it gets difficult. Now I have to decode the code. The detective club sent Logical a message written in detective code. And it's basically a bunch of jumbo letters. But we also know that Blusky did not bring the piano wire. He was tone deaf, meaning that he has... This means that he only has the poison dart. So let's go ahead and cross this out. And then we're going to check mark the poison dart because that's what he has. So, either a crowbar or a poison dart was by the distracting graffiti. The problem is that it cannot be both. Now, this is another hard one like the third case. But what I do know for certain, because I realized something, since he has the poison darts, these suspects did not have the poison darts. There we go. There we go. Okay, now this one is a little bit of the toughie. I don't understand this one. I don't understand this one. But I think what I do know for certain was that I have to go to the talk. I can't even talk, my goodness. What I do know is that I have to go to the Murdle website to see if I can decode this. Oh, wait a minute. I'm going to see if I can decode this. It may take a while. I'm going to use a decoder. And I'm going to go ahead and... Okay, I'm going to go ahead and type the letters. So it's TVMV, IZO. Then we got XL, UU, VV. Then WRW, MLG, SC, EV. Then we got GSV. Then lastly, you got XI, LD, YZI. Oh my goodness. Is this... Hold on. Hold on. Hold on. I might have messed up, but according to the decoder on the website, I just found out that... And now I gotta retype this again. I'm sorry, ladies and gentlemen. But I just figured out it has something to do with General Coffee. I can't believe this decoder website actually works. I'm super excited about it. So let's see. I'm retyping this again because I want to make sure that I got this right. Oh my goodness, just look at this. Look what it says. It says General Coffee did not have the crowbar. But what's with all the mumble jumble letters all about? So, General Coffee did not have the crowbar. He did not have the crowbar. That means that he only has the piano wire, I believe. Because, let's see. Hold on. Okay, so we now know, we now solve a little bit of what we know. We know that General Coffee has the piano wire, Midnight the Third has the crowbar, and Blusky has the poison darts. But we still have not figured out of which location has the crowbar or the poison darts, because remember the location that we're looking for is in the dumpster. So obviously it cannot be both. It has to be one or the other. So apparently, let me see, Midnight the Third, that familiarly chain link pattern pressed into his face. What if it's a metal fence? That may be it. The metal fence is where it has the crowbar. And Midnight was there. Using the pencil. Just because. He was using the that only means that the poison dart, that means that the poison dart was at the distracting graffiti. It has to be. It has to be, because otherwise, because otherwise, if I'm wrong, then this is a problem. Which only means only one thing. General Coffee, which I'm going to use the name Coffee. I know how to spell it. But this only means that Coffee has the piano wire. And it's the murder weapon that is used to end off someone. I finally solved that mystery. It wasn't hard, but it's like very difficult in the third case. I need to figure out what the third case is about. So the poison dart. So the poison dart was at the graffiti distraction. Which means that at the dumpster, it was General Coffee who has the piano wire. This is definitely a tough case, without a shadow of a doubt. But let's see if I could try to figure out the third case, because that third case stumped me like no other. Something to do with either these two suspects was at the location, but it cannot be both. We know that the entry hall has a plaque, but I still don't know exactly. Where were they at and what do they use. Captain Sleep brought the poison wine. He was suspicious of the person. It's still not giving me anything right now. So I know that the art class thing is in the art studio, so he may be there. But Captain Slate could be at the rooftop. This clue is very confusing because I don't know exactly what to do here. It all depends on whether or not, if somewhere one of these weapons has something. The vase wasn't abstract, so maybe the vase is in the art studio. Which can only mean that Captain Slate wasn't in the art studio. I don't want to think things through so you know. Let's probably do one more case, and then after this I'm just gonna, you know. So, a quaint little village slang. Deducted logical. Travel to Dana City's quaint little village, and immediately logical learned a new word, vika. He didn't know what it meant, but he knew how to use it in a sentence like, the vicar has been murdered, and I'm going to find who done it. So obviously we have Dana Sidian, who is now in the victim. Then we have Deacon Verdigris. He is a deacon in the church. She handles the parishioners. I can't pronounce the word. Donations and sometimes their secrets. This person is 5'3", left-handed, blue eyes and gray hair. Earl Grey. He comes from a long line of Earl Greys. Yes, of the T. No, he doesn't sign autographs, but he'll give you a free bag if you asked. He's 5'9", right-handed, light brown eyes and white hair. So the location is the manor house, the chapel, and the ancient ruins again. For the weapons, however, we have a bottle of cyanide, a pair of gardening shears, and a yarn. Plain and simple. Let's figure out the things that we do know. We do know that the vicar was strangled, mostly embarrassingly, by a roll of yarn. So, we know that the weapon that the murderer used is a yarn. All right, so let's check out the clues. Logical smell almonds beneath a stained glass window, which is obviously the church. And I believe that the one that has almond is a bottle of cyanide. Because if you pay attention to the bio of these weapons, it says it's almond scent poisoned. And the glass stain is in the chapel. So it's quite obvious that the bottle of cyanide is at the church. But let's get to the other clues. Dane Obsidian was not in her manor house, which only means that she wasn't there. Dane Obsidian was not in the... You know what? Let me use a pencil just in case if I get confused. She wasn't at the manor. That's for sure. Okay, yes, he owned a tea empire, which is Earl Grey, but Earl Grey never gardened. He wouldn't be caught dead holding a pair of shears. So Earl Grey did not have a pair of shears, and he doesn't do gardening. Okay. That gives me nothing but, hey, it does make sense though. So the deacon was visiting the ancient ruins to research an article. He was writing about the local pagan practice prior to the arrival of the church. So I can only assume that the deacon was at the ancient ruins, which means that Dane Obsidian was at the chapel this whole time. But she may also have the cyanide, because remember, logical smell almonds beneath the stained glass window. I was going to use a pen, but this is probably going to be a little bit difficult than I expected. So the person who has the garden shears is definitely the deacon, which only leaves to Earl Grey having the yarn. Okay, so he has a ball of yarn. And I'm just going to write his full name, even though I don't know if that's going to work out. But it has to. So we know that Earl Grey has the ball of yarn. Now we just gotta figure out where he was at. Oh, wait a minute. I just remembered something. This is like the only page that I'm writing in pencil, just because I wasn't sure. I was not sure. Check mark this. The shears is in the ancient ruins. And finally, the yarn is at the not the old main, the manor house. So that means we cross this, cross that. There we go. So now I'm just gonna call it the manor. Even though it is a house, but I still rather call it the manor. It's probably a different type of house either way. And there we go. We solved that mystery, but I'm not confident if I did. Let's see how many pages that we need to get to when it comes to elementary. There's still a lot more. I still need to figure out how to solve this third and final case, because it's not the third and final case, because I'm not getting anything that's giving me, like, you know, what I need to know. The person who brought the statue is definitely the bishop. Slade brought the poison wine. The statue wasn't in the art studio because it was too abstract. But the final clue is where it gets really confusing. So, I need to figure out... I need to figure out what it is right now. There's no decoding stuff. I didn't mean to go back. I'm using the laptop because... Let's see here. Let's see here. I'm still trying to figure out who is where, and it's kind of confusing right now. Let me see here. I'm still not getting anything right now. I'm going through my laptop just because I'm trying to figure out this mystery. Trying to figure out this mystery. Unfortunately, I'm not getting any answers that clicks, you know. This third case has stumped me to the point where I just don't know exactly what it wants me to say. I don't want to get it wrong, but I'm just not sure in my heart of who's who. Captain Slade could be at the rooftop of the garden, even though she is not drinking the wine. But at the same time, it's like, I have no clue. The entry hall is indoors. And it's art. So it cannot be abstract because it could be on the rooftop. Could be on the rooftop. The garden rooftop, that is. So I know I might get this wrong. That's why I'm using the pencil for it. And right now my dog is just... she's just getting up, and I'm trying to solve this mystery without distractions. But let me make this quick. I think because the art is too abstract and it should not be seen, I'm just going to say that it's on the rooftop, you know? The flower rooftop. Okay, now we just gotta figure out the other weapons. So, I'm just going to say in theory, which I may be wrong, I think that the vase could be in the entry hall because it's a bit of artsy and it's not too abstract. I'm just going to have to go with it. But I'm using it in pencil for a reason. Just because I may be wrong. But wait a minute. Someone has to be in the... hold on. Wait a minute. I just realized something. I just realized that he could be in the art studio where the vase is at. So that means that Captain Slate was at the entry hall. Don't quote me on this because I may be getting this wrong. I may be getting this wrong. But I just have to roll with it because I have no clue. This clue right here got me very stumped. So I'm just going to say... I'm going to put P, which stands for poison, and then write wine. Write down wine. And then I'm just going to put the name Slate. I may be wrong. Do not quote me. Do not give me any spoilers or answers. I may be wrong, but I'm just trying to think in theory. I'm trying to think in theory. It's not state, it's slate. As in SL. There we go. I think I'm going to call it for today. It was quite fun. There's only 100 puzzles to solve. So let's see. How much did I solve so far? Besides the how to solve thing. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And of course we have 7. So I have 7 cases. So 100 minus 7. 100 minus 7. Let's see. 99, 98, 97, 96, 95, 94. I'm assuming that I only have 93 mysteries to solve. Yeah, that's basically about it. So that's all for today's Myrtle Mystery session, and I'll see you all in the next one.